Hey, good morning to everybody. It's Daryl here. It is coming up on 9 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I want to talk a little bit about one of Trump's defense team, PAM BIONDI, a former Attorney General from Florida. Let me first say, I think it was last week that I saw Trump and his team arguing that they wanted to wait till Monday to open up their defense and not do it on the weekend because of TV ratings, because they would have a bigger audience on Monday than they would on Saturday. So I kind of laughed at this a little bit, thinking it was the old reality TV show star in Trump, just wanting ratings for some reason. But now now it's clearer to me. The purpose behind this. It's the court of public opinion, and the way Trump's defense team is painting this. It's not for the senators. It's for the American people, and presumably for the coming election. So I watched Pam Biondi talking in front of the Senate at the trial. I believe it was on the 27th, yesterday, the day before Monday. It was Monday, I think. And first, she started out talking about how many times the Democrats brought up, the prosecution brought up Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and Prisma. And she says they mentioned it she counted how many times they mentioned it. She doesn't say the context, though, that they mentioned it in. So in her argument, she links this to the trial because it was brought up in the trial. Presumably, it was brought up to make the point that what Trump was bargaining for, that he was bargaining military aid for supposed information, or just the he just wanted the claim from the president of the Ukraine in public to say, we're investigating Hunter and Joe Biden, and his ties to Burisma. Presumably, that's how the prosecution brought it up. But of course, Pam Biondi does not put it in that context. So she goes on to say that, well, it is not. It's up to the prosecution now to prove that Hunter and Joe Biden are not guilty of misdoings, of corruption in what Trump was supposedly trying to investigate. That it's that unless they prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Hunter and Joe Biden weren't up to any good, then the impeachment goes right out the door. And I'm sitting there in amazement. And I'm thinking to myself, the entire Senate knows this is bullshit. This isn't what the trial is about. Again, the trial is about the way Trump went about this. His using his office to try to force the president of the Ukraine to say he was investigating this. Abusing his office, using his office for personal gain. That is what the impeachment is about. It has nothing to do with whether or not Joe and Hunter were actually, if they're innocent, if they're guilty. It has no bearing on the case. If they are guilty, say they are guilty, and if they are, they are. Say they're guilty. It still has no bearing. But that's not the way she was spinning this in front of the Senate, and and also in front of the TV cameras and the entire American public. She was making it seem like that if Hunter and Joe, in fact, were up to no good, well, then Trump's off the hook. Because he was doing the right thing. He was investigating corruption, and that is wrong. That is completely false. It's not what the trial is about. And believe me, right now, I'm not endorsing Joe Biden. So if Joe or Hunter, if they were up to no good, let there be an investigation after. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. It's the way that Trump went about it, abusing his office and for personal gain, for an advantage in the election. That is the problem. And him trying to cover it up. The second article. And as I watch this, I'm thinking a good portion of these senators are attorneys themselves. They know exactly what this woman is doing. It's a show for the TV cameras. It's a show for the American public. Trying to spin this. That that Trump was just trying to do the right thing. And if there was the least bit of wrongdoing on Hunter and Joe's part, well, then the impeachment goes right out the window because Trump was right. And that's not how any of this works, as they say. It's not how this works. And I thought about it, everybody in that Senate chamber knows that. Again, smoke and mirrors. It's smoke and mirrors. If they called Hunter and Joe, it would just be to confuse this issue, to make this issue more about whether or not there was corruption with Joe and Hunter Biden. And like I said, I have no problem investigating Hunter and Joe Biden. I would just assume they do investigate them to get it out of the way. Because say that Biden is going to be say that somehow he does end up being the candidate that runs against Trump, then the last thing any of us wants is for any late information to come out that there was any misdoings. So if they want to, my opinion is if they want to investigate Hunter and Joe Biden, by all means do it now. Either clear them or shut up. That's the way I see it. But again, going back to PAM BIONDI here, one of Trump's attorney team. As I watch this, I realize, first of all, it's untrue what she's saying. The Bidens have their guilt or innocence has no bearing on this impeachment. It's not about their they could be guilty as sin, as Trump should still be impeached. Why? Because he went about it the wrong way. He abused his office, and he did this for personal gain in the upcoming election. And she knows this, and the entire Senate knows this. So who's it for? It's for the TV cameras. It's for the American public. It's for the election coming up. So I've heard Trump supporters say this before. That's what we hired him to do, to root out corruption. And they don't get it, and they don't want to get it. That it was never even, first of all, it was never even about corruption. It was just about the president of the Ukraine stating this in public. That's all this was about, so he would have an advantage in the election. I think Trump supporters, most of them probably know this in the back of their, in their mind. They know, but they justify it. Trump was doing the right thing. That's what we hired him for. But again, how they argued that they wanted the TV cameras and as much viewing public to watch this as possible. That's what it's all about. Smoke and mirrors, man. Just so they could twist the truth, exaggerate, confuse the topic, confuse the issue. It's very frustrating. So anyway, that's my take today on one of Trump's attorneys. In her defense on January 27th in the Senate. All right, you guys have a good Wednesday.